Well, Maxxxine, that's with 3 X's. Get it? Giggle tee he completes the X trilogy that began with the movie called X. Yeah. You know, where you have Boogie Nights meets kinda sorta Friday the 13th type horror movie. Only where, you know, it's the crazy old lady who does the killing. And here we had a crazy old lady who does the killing who is also extremely horny and has been that way all our life. Then we jump to Pearl, which really couldn't fit an X into the title. It did put the X in an extraordinary origin story in like a tagline or something, so I guess that's how you fit it in. But we got Pearl's whole story, and also why she was so obsessive about Maxxxine in X overall. And it wasn't just because she wasn't blonde. No. We did find out why she doesn't like blondes also. But it was because she was a dead ringer for her. Yeah, so there you go. And that really, really freaked her out, although evidence within the movie she had been killing people for years. There's a lot of cars in that lake. So that's how this works out. The first one takes place in the late 70s. Then you jump back to 1918. And now we jump ahead just a little bit for what became of Maxxxine after she was the sole survivor of X, you know, and ran over Pearl's head. And she had it coming, you know. And still pursuing stardom while doing porn movies. Well, boy, that's a tough thing to do. And there's been porn actresses who have crossed over into mainstream fare, but really haven't gotten very far with that. There's been a handful. I guess Tracy Lords, after her scandal and everything, she actually got, well, she did a John Waters film, of course, with Johnny Depp, but had a TV series for a while, a sci-fi one and stuff like that. And so that's, as far as I know, that's pretty far for a former porn actress to go. But so look, maybe it's possible, you know. So Maxxxine is now auditioning for a horror film, and it's a horror film franchise. And so, yeah, you know, that's a possibility for her, you know. But her past is catching up with her, and this was in the midst of the Night Stalker killings. And I thought, geez, are they going to weave that into the story? Nah. It turns out there was another killer on the loose, and that's where this ties up the movie, and elements within X are now explored further in this one. And on the face of it, it's somewhat a dig at Christianity to a point, but also at just the nastiness and trashiness of Hollywood, which was always the case of these films. Even in 1918, because you can see the ground setting of the silent films, and then of course there was no big porn industry, but there were stag films, so you get this. So porn plays a role throughout the trilogy, and in this case, looking very much like the 80s era of it. And following on with the slasher plot of this film, which plays out through the other two as well. But here, I have to say, of the three, this one is probably the weakest of the three. It just doesn't quite hit the spot as good as the first two. However, I do appreciate what they're trying to do here, and they, for the most part, succeed in that even the overall plot and everything for it is a callback to 80s cheesy schlock films that happened, and there was quite a few of these films of this woman's not gonna take it, or whatever. And, I think Linda Blair did one and stuff like that. There was quite a few of them where it was a female death wish rather than like a Charles Bronson movie. But she was easy on the eyes, but hard with the bullets or whatever, something like that, and that's the deal. And that's established kind of early on, she's confronted by some weirdo, and well, she takes him down, and of course, you know, she's long since learned it's good to be packing heat. So that's all well and good, but there's a mysterious somebody who's stalking her and knows about what happened in the original movie. And, you know, obviously those cases where at least what happened to the actual killers, well, she killed them. And she just drove off and left. But somebody's been looking for her. Gee, who could it be? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. And the original movie does establish this in it. So you're full circle there. And it takes on this idea about the anti-smut campaigns and stuff of the era and stuff like that. And then there was all the beginnings of the parental advisory stickers you would get on albums and all that sort of. All that took place during the 80s in politics and what have you. And so that plays out there as well. So once again, very well shot. The performances are good, and there's some funny in it. In comparison to the other two, it just didn't hit me as strong as the other two. And I mean, it could be just the thing's run its course, and now, you know, and so I wouldn't think of a fourth one would be a good idea. And this one really concludes the story. I mean, she's really the only character left. and it is really funny in the sense that she wins big. She succeeds in all her dreams. And so, you know, it works out. And, you know, especially now, more than ever, if you hadn't already realized this, that Hollywood is a very nasty and filthy place, oftentimes. And so it's like, well, why can't a porn star become a movie star? Really? I mean, who is Hollywood to judge? And so, but ultimately, yeah, it's a really rotten, filthy world, you know, and basically, well, the girl's just got to learn how to protect herself, and so, well, she does, and there's some elements in it I was thinking, well, this is kind of knocking men, because in quite a few scenes the men are idiots, but on the other hand, well, not Gus Fring, who helps her out. And takes care of business and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of funny. I could see a whole cast of that spinning out. I don't think that'll happen. But nevertheless, and of course, this will fit into the whatever it is, the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, because Kevin Bacon does show up in this. No, it will not continue with his character. There's a pretty pronounced reason for that. So, all in all, it's a colorful film. There's a lot of funny characters in it and wacky stuff. So it's not boring or anything. It's just in comparison to the achievements of the first two, I think it falls short of that. But nevertheless, it does capture the era, and especially in the whole idea of they do capture that genre, if you will, and plot of this. Wasn't there, I think there was a series of movies called Angel, where it was this prostitute who becomes a vigilante or something like that, and that kind of thing, you know, and that certainly plays out here. But all in all, entertaining, which is important, which does make it a success, but in the end, not as strong as the first two. And but as a full package of the 3 films, it's good to just keep it that way. And would be interesting to see what Ty West and who teams up with Mia Goth, see what they do elsewhere. Even if it is more horror film type stuff, could go into the supernatural and that sort of thing, I suppose. Whatever. Pretty good team here, because she really carried these films and did an excellent job in doing so. So that's it. That's the final X for the X trilogy. I think so. They'll probably do a 4th one. I wouldn't recommend it. No. I mean, someone else could do it, and then it would be some other girl, and then it quickly evaporates, and no one ever talks about it again. Because, hey, wait a minute, what about the DVD era of the 90s for porn? Yeah, well, but the narrative established, it's done, you know? Unless it's going to be like then when Maxxxine is really old, and now she's jealous of the younger girl, but that's just repeating, the first one and stuff, so... Yeah, that's a wrap. That's a wrap on it. And to do otherwise would probably only ruin what you've already achieved, you know? So anyway, we'll keep your eyes out for the team behind this movie and see what they do elsewhere. That would be the more interesting thing. So there you go. The X trilogy ends with Maxxxine.